Hello there, and thank you very much for joining us today in this new Azure Portal how-to video. Today we learn how to use Azure Cosmos DB's built-in notebooks. And for that we have Deborah Chen, who's going to show us how to do that. So thank you very much for joining us today, Deborah.
Hey Leon, super excited to be here. Let's dive right into the demo.
Let's do it.
So the easiest way to get started is from Data Explorer. We can go to the Gallery tab, and so we have official samples written by the Cosmos DB team, as well as samples submitted by users in this public gallery. We have notebooks written for both C# and Python, and our samples cover everything from getting started content to general key concepts in Cosmos DB. We can also do things like filter and search by tags. So for example, if we want to look at all the getting started content, we can find one tag here, click on it, and see all the relevant notebooks. Let's take a closer look at this notebook, the Getting Started with .NET SQL, the Getting Started with .NET SDK for SQL API. We can view the notebook here, which is great, but even better, we can download it to My Notebooks and get started with it right away. Once it's downloaded to My Notebooks, it'll show up here under My Notebooks, and we can start running. As I mentioned earlier, in Cosmos DB, we support both C# and Python notebooks. This one is a C# notebook. And because it's C#, we can do everything we'd expect for C# developers using Cosmos DB. For example, we can start by bringing in relevant NuGet packages. This sample happens to be one where we have some sample IoT data that we're writing to our Cosmos DB collection, and we'll be using it to query and visualize the data. So this library that we just imported, Bogus, will be very helpful here. After importing the NuGet package, next we can use the built-in Cosmos DB .NET SDK to create a new database and container. If you notice here, this Cosmos DB client is already aware of the context of the account. See that cosmos.endpoint, cosmos.key. So we don't even have to hard code any of our connection strings. It already knows what the context of my account is. After we run the cell, we see we have a couple lines that use the built-in SDK to create a new database and a new container. Then if we go back to our data section here, we see that we actually were able to create the database and container. In these next couple of cells, we have some helper code to represent the data that we'll insert. This is the telemetry event with some sensor data. So this is just regular C# class. We see we have some sensor data, S1, S2, S3, as well as some vehicle metadata. In these cells, we have some helper code that uses that bogus library we imported to generate some sample data, have it in a helper function, and call that function to insert 100 events into our container. So that line, see right there, there's the container.createItems async. That container is the same reference to the container we created earlier in our database. So once we run that, if we actually go to look our items or documents, we see that items were indeed inserted based on that sample code. Now that we have data inside our container, the next thing we want to do is query and visualize it. Here we have some sample code to run the query to get top 5 results. In this case, we'll actually go ahead and change it to 100 results just to give us a bit more data to look at. And you notice immediately that in addition to getting the results in this nice grid view, we also provide some other options to the right that are built-in visualizations to help you analyze and visualize your data. So for example, if I use this built-in bar chart view, let's say I want to look at the S1 metric for the vehicle type or grouped by vehicle type, I can quickly get an interactive bar chart that shows me all the data I have for a quick view without writing any additional code to build this visualization. So in just a few minutes, we're able to get started with Cosmos DB, run a sample notebook, generate data, and visualize it. But what if you want to write your own notebook or share that back to other users of Cosmos DB? If you want to write your own notebook, you can go to the top right pane and create a new notebook. Once you select new notebook, it'll show up in Notebooks workspace, and here you can add your content. I happen to have one I've already written here called Tips and Tricks. This one actually shows some Python SDK features. And if I want to share my notebook so it's available to any user of Cosmos DB, I can publish it to our gallery. So via the publish gallery action, I'll give it a name. So this one we call Demo Tips and Tricks, description, give us some tags, some optional metadata here. And finally, to make it look nice, I can provide a cover image. One nice thing we've done here is, in addition to letting you upload your own image, we can also even take a screenshot of what your notebook currently looks like. So if we take a screenshot, it will actually match what you're currently seeing on screen in your notebooks. Once you hit publish, takes a second or two, you'll be taken to my published work, where you can see this is the notebook I just published. And if you go to the public gallery, you'll see here's a notebook I have available to anyone who's viewing this public gallery in Cosmos DB. So in conclusion, we've just seen how you can get started with Cosmos DB's built-in notebooks and how to share them with others. We welcome contributions and look forward to seeing what you build with notebooks.
Thank you very much, Deborah. This was great. And thanks everyone for watching. Please try this out and let us know what you think. Leave us a comment in the comment section. Follow us on Twitter. Thanks for watching and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye now.